All right, so last time we talked about how to find the slope when you get a graph. Today we're going to talk about how to do it without a graph. There's actually a formula that we're able to use, but we'll get to that. So let's just recap. We have a picture of a graph here. We need to find the slope. Let's remember that slope is rise over run. So rise is the vertical change up or down. The run is the side-to-side change, how far it's going to the right. So if I look at my graph here, I'm going to draw my little triangle. And I'm saying, well, the rise is going up by 2, so it's positive 2, and it's going 3 to the right. So my rise over run would be 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3. Cool, no problem. Now, the more difficult part is if we don't have a graph to go on. So in this case, questions are going to give you the points. So these 2 points here, let's call this like A and B. They would just give you those numbers. So the point A would be 1, 2, and point B would be 4, 4. Cool, yeah, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use what we already know to figure out a formula that works for this. So when I drew my diagram, we gotta think, okay, I needed to know the rise over the run. How do we find the rise? Well, on our diagram, we just looked at this line and figured out how long it was. We actually know how to find out how long a line is using the distance formula. So the distance formula, we need to say, okay, what's the y number at here? What's the y number at here? And subtract them to find the difference. So we're going to take the y value of this point, B, and then we're going to subtract this y value at A. We're not going to use the letters A and B because those can get kind of weird and confusing using letters. So we're just going to call this point 1 and point 2. And here on my diagram here, I'm going to write point 1, point 2, just so it's really easy to remember. So that means that this point is x1, and this point is y1, this point is x2, this point is y2, okay? We called 1 the first point and 2 the second point, reading from left to right. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you mix up, if you called this 2 and this 1, it would still work as long as you label it right. If you'd call this like y1 and this x1, then you get screwed up. So we have 1, we have 2. To find the rise, we said we needed to subtract the y values. So I'm going to say y2 minus y1, which is the y2 up here was 4, and that's what it said right here, minus y1, which was 2. Okay. Then we need to do the run, which is the changes in the x values. Okay, so it was 4 and 1. So I'm going to do 4 minus 1, sorry, x2 minus x1. And we said that's 4 minus 1. So when we do the math, 4 minus 2 is 2, 4 minus 1 is 3, and look, it's exactly right, okay? So this is the formula for rise over run for slope. It looks really weird, but if you try and visualize what's happening, it makes a lot of sense based on what we've learned already. Essentially, all we're doing is we are taking the 2 points that it gave us, can sketch them on a graph really fast. This is 1, 2, and this is 4, 4. We're trying to find these distances. So if the formula is messing you up and you're not really sure why it works, sketch a picture really fast. And then we say, okay, well, this is 1, this is 4 for the x value, that's 3, 2 and 4, 2. And then now you can do your rise over run. So the formula is good. It is the way to get the exact numbers. But if you sketch a picture, for some people who are visual, it's a little bit easier just to see what's going on. So let's do one more weirder example with some negatives going on in here, okay? So I'm going to write my formula that we just figured out, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The way I remember which one goes on top and the bottom, because it's weird that y's are on top, right? It's rise over run. That you have to memorize. But rise is up and down. Which letter deals with up and down? Y. The y-axis is up and down. Run is the side to side, so that one is x's. Okay? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my values in the right spot. I'm going to call this point 1 and point 2. Again, it doesn't really matter as long as we are consistent. This would be x1, y1, x2, y2. I like to label these out, especially when you're early on in learning it, because a lot of kids will misinput the numbers and put them in the wrong spots, which will always get you the wrong number, or the wrong answer. So y2 is -5, so I'm going to write -5 minus y1 was 4. Okay. x2 was 3 minus -2. This is the other common mistake is students will forget the double negative. We need to have the double negative. So when we do it, we got negative 5 minus 4 is negative 9. And then 3 minus minus is plus 2 is 5. So that would be the slope. I'm going to sketch it really fast so that I can kind of visualize what's happening so I can check if this answer makes sense. So negative 2, 4 would be somewhere like there. That's 0.1. And then 3, negative 5 would be somewhere like that. So when I look at my graph, does it make sense that the slope is negative? Well, yeah, for sure, right? Like that's obviously a negative slope. It's hard to see when you sketch the exact angle that it should be, but I do know it's negative and not positive, so I'm confident with that answer. And that's it. That's all you have to do. This formula right here. And just be careful and sub in the right number in the right spot.